of the Mary Celeste. The sea has long held the imagination of men. Its uncharted depths and unpredictable moods have been the topic of innumerable poems and legends. Many of these legends have been proven to be true over the years, from rogue waves 100 feet tall to the existence of the giant squid, a terrifying creature that can grow almost as large as the gray whale. The discovery of the oarfish substantiated many claims of sea serpents that had long been dismissed as the superstitions of primitive cultures. Yet despite these findings and constant exploration, the mysteries of the sea are far from being answered. Modern culture has its own share of unexplained phenomena that in time will turn into legends. We will be discussing one of these peculiar legends to be today. And like most legends, it has been embellished over the years to better the story. But the story of the Mary Celeste and its vanishing crew needs no embellishment to boggle the mind. The story of the Mary Celeste has been distorted over the years, both by pop culture and the average yarn spinner. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was perhaps the first to take advantage of the mystery ship's story through an anonymous short story that brought the ship's plight into public focus. This infamous creator of Sherlock Holmes presented his own theory of the events, murder and mutiny, in the process taking more than a little artistic license where facts were concerned. Many of these distorted or completely fabricated details became thought of as fact as time went on, and many today believe warm tea and a half-eaten breakfast was still on the ghost ship's table when it was discovered, or that the tiller was tethered in place and lifeboats still hung safely unused. However, neither of these statements are true. So what really happened? What inspired all of these stories? The Mary Celeste was an American merchant brigantine vessel that first launched May 18, 1861, under the name of the Amazon. Her first voyages were troubled and included the untimely death of one of her captains. She was renamed the Mary Celeste for a clean, fresh start and had several renovations done. She changed hands several times in the process. Many remark that after the numerous lengthenings and cabin additions, she likely was not the prettiest ship to sail the seas, but she was known to be seaworthy. The fateful voyage that would prove to be her last was supposed to be a peaceful, happy trip. Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs handpicked the small crew of 7 and brought along both his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. His older son, Alexander, the age not listed, was not taken along because Briggs did not want him to miss school. The Mary Celeste set off from New York City with her load of 1,701 barrels of industrial-strength alcohol on the 7th of November, 1872, destined for Genoa, Italy. Neither the ship nor her occupants would ever arrive at their destination. On December 4th, the crew of Canadian brigantine Dia Gracia, I'm probably butchering that, was surprised to find the Mary Celeste near the Azores Islands, 400 miles east of Santa Maria. The Mary Celeste should have already been docked in Genoa at this point in time, and even more worrisome, she was not coursing in the correct direction. Captain Moorhead of the Dia Gracia ordered his first mate and 2 other sailors to investigate further and offer assistance. The captains of these 2 ships were friends, even reportedly dining together the night before the Mary Celeste's launching, and so Captain Moorhead was especially concerned, knowing that the captain's child and wife were on board. The ship was at partial sail, and when the small lifeboat reached her, no one answered their calls to board. Because of this, boarding the moving ship proved very difficult, and at this point, the men thought a sickness must have broken out on board, leaving the crew too weak to respond. A similar event had happened quite recently. But once the men managed to board the vessel, they found not a single soul on board. The ship was in a mild state of disarray, its single lifeboat missing. Descending below deck, they found 3 feet of water had accumulated. The water was not from leak or damage, but from a hatch that had been left open in recent storms, allowing waves and rainwater in. The cargo, however, was still safely in place. 9 barrels of the alcohol were emptied, their contents having leaked out. The rest of the ship was in a similar state of disarray. While the captain's log and the running log were both still laying open in the cabin, the sextant, chronometer, ship's register, and navigation book were all missing. The last entry in the log was dated November 25th, earlier in the day, and stated their position to be 6 miles from Santa Maria Island. Further investigation revealed that the ship's 6-month supply of food and water was intact. The crew's boxes of clothing and personal belongings were also undisturbed. Sophia's clothing and toys were also left behind, something investigators would later find worrisome. The first mate of the Dia Garcia returned below deck and removed the water in the hull, only to find that one of the ship's 2 pumps was completely disassembled. The intact pump was fully functional, and this is what he used to clear the water. Left with no other course of action, the men then sailed the unfortunate vessel to Gibraltar as a salvaged vessel. An investigation was undertaken immediately. Many were of the belief that the crew of the Dia Garcia had either murdered the Mary Celeste crew or colluded with them to pull off an elaborate hoax for insurance and salvage money. The latter theory quickly lost support when Captain Briggs did not show up to claim the insurance money. It also was determined he did not intentionally disappear because he had left his young son, Alexander, in school. No evidence was ever found that the Dia Garcia's crew was involved in any way. Other theories abounded, and the official story became that the crew of the Mary Celeste had broken into the alcohol and mutinied. Using a red-stained sword investigators found under Captain Briggs' bed, the captain fought back, supposedly, at murdering his crew and possibly his wife and daughter as well, and throwing their bodies into the sea. He then supposedly gathered his paperwork and navigational tools and fled in the single lifeboat, taking no food or water with him. However, the alleged bloodstains on this sword were later found to be rust. In addition, it was also shown that the empty barrels of alcohol were still sealed. They had not been drank. These specific barrels were made from red oak instead of white oak. Red oak was not commonly used for barrels containing alcohol because of the porous nature of the wood. Alcohol tended to slowly seep and leak out of the barrels. Because of this, it was determined that the empty barrels were drained by seepage, not unruly crew members. Plus, no one was really able to explain why Captain Briggs would have, presumably after killing all of the members of his crew that all mutinied, would kill his wife and his daughter as well, and why he would throw all of the bodies overboard, and why there were no bloodstains in the boat. There were many issues with the story. However, it still remains the official story that was adapted by the Queen's Magistrate. However, the Dia Garcia was never given the full sum of the salvage money, and it is believed that the investigators still held a bit of suspicion towards the Dia Garcia, and that's why some of the money was withheld. But there really wasn't any explanation given. The mystery of the Mary Celeste remains unsolved to this day, inspiring numerous authors and Hollywood producers. Some theories claim that the ship encountered a rift in time, or speculate that a mysterious force drove them to jump into the sea out of madness. Yet others ponder that the ship was haunted by a demonic presence that so terrified the crew that they fled in the lifeboat. But these theories are exactly that: claims, speculations, and preponderances. For now, the Mary Celeste joins the ever-growing list of ghost ships. In the years between 2017 and 2020 alone, 70 abandoned ships were found at sea in a similar manner as the Celeste. While some of these incidents have been explained, The overall phenomenon remains yet another one of the sea's great mysteries. Thank you for joining the Phenomenal Files for this episode. It's a little bit of a short one, but it was a fun one, and I hope that you found it as interesting as I did. I've always found the Mary Celeste quite interesting. There's another ship that I can't remember the name of right now. I think it's the Deering, Carol Deering, and I'm thinking about doing an episode about that as well, because unlike the Mary Celeste, the Deering actually was discovered with half-eaten breakfast on the table, and the lifeboat's not missing. So I'm quite interested in that one. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, please let me know in the comments box. Or you can join the Gab group, the Phenomenal Files, where I post updates, sneak peeks, and general discussion regarding the Phenomenal Files. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you for our next video.